Hello, this is Stephanie Kimball, and I am back to talk to you about Day 15 of our 21-Day Racial Justice Challenge. Day 15 talks about enduring the legacy of racism in the U.S., and it's located in your Facing Racism Study Guide, which I will put a link to that in the description of this video. Some historical society structures that granted white people privilege and hindered people of color have diminished over time. However, others have snowballed, and the effects are difficult to stop and sometimes hard to recognize. And I'm going to talk to you about a few of those structures today. The first one is economics. That's the idea that wealth is passed down from generation to generation, and that's not always true with people of color. Education is another structure where it's hard for people of color to have access to good education sometimes, and with the segregation and desegregation of schools, this has always been a hot topic in the racial divide. A recent report from the Department of Education Office for Civil Rights found that racial minorities are more likely than white students to be suspended from school, to have less access to rigorous math and science classes, and to be taught by lower paid teachers with less experience. I know when I worked in the school, we talked a lot about closing the educational gap between people of color. It's an ongoing process, it's an ongoing issue in the school system. Policing is another big structure that's being challenged right now. We could probably do a whole 21-day challenge just on this topic. But African Americans and Latinas are significantly more likely to experience violence at the hands of police than white people. Native Americans are killed by law enforcement at a higher rate than any other racial group. Mass incarceration is another structure. There's a great documentary on Netflix called 13th. That if you're interested, go check it out. It's the history of the 13th Amendment and the history of the mass incarceration of Black men in this country. It's very hard to watch, but it's very good. Despite the fact that white and Black people use drugs at similar rates, Black people are jailed on drug charges 10 times more often than white people. And the last structure is immigration. That while some racial groups are encouraged to enter this country, others are not. And they go on to talk a little more about immigration in the study guide. And that's pretty much it for today. If you'd like to go online and explore these topics and read more, they're on the study guide. There's some really good discussion questions that can get you thinking about some things. One of them is, how has the enduring legacy of racism affected you and your family? And what does it mean if the answer to that question is not readily apparent? I thought that was a good one to stop and think about. So I'm going to take a few days off from here, and we'll be returning next Wednesday to ramp up the 21-day challenge. You might see a couple new faces on here next week. And then on Thursday, we're going to have a Zoom call on the 24th at 5 o'clock, and we'll be getting those Zoom links out to you shortly. And we're going to discuss all 21 days. We probably won't get all 21 topics in, but we're going to discuss the whole challenge and see what people think and see what we can do to move forward with this challenge. So we'll see you hopefully next week. Bye.